Support for this podcast comes from Frito-Lay in the 2023 Snack Bracket Championship. The Frito-Lay Snack-It Challenge is underway, and fans are voting on their favorite snacks to crown champion. We're talking about prime-time matchups between the best 64 snacks in the land. Will Ruffles Ridges reign supreme? Can Doritos defend their dynasty? Or will Smart Food use their smarts for a surprise upset? Only you can decide. Get in on all the action for a chance to win up to $1,000 or a year's worth of snacks. Let your snacks be heard. Just go to fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com to vote and enter for a chance to win. No purchase necessary. Sweepstakes ends April 3rd, 2023. Void where prohibited. Year's worth of snacks awarded in the form of 52 coupons, each good for one bag of chips. See official rules at fritolaysnacket.sbnation.com.
Welcome to the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. Jeff Sharon, Eric Lopez, Brian Murphy with you here on Wednesday, June 24th. A stormy night tonight. I hope this isn't a foreshadowing of any kind. It's an omen. Thank you. But we're here with you tonight. We got a bunch of that stuff that we want to talk to you about, but we have here we are in the middle of more COVID-19 stuff, which we'll get to a little bit later, news having to do with that. But Eric and Brian, I feel like should we all just shelter in place again? Like, I mean, is that what we're all going to do now?
What are you guys talking about? I've been sheltered since March, so speak for yourselves.
Right.
I don't know what nightlife looks like anymore, Murph.
The days
That's
all
true.
run together.
Yeah.
Eric has held firm to shelter in place.
Yeah.
But listen, I mean,
Eric, I want to applaud you for being a model citizen. By the way, you are doing your part.
Sure. Unfortunately, I mean, there's not more of me. Otherwise, things would be better. But heck, like Murph said, I don't even know what days or hours. Heck, we're doing interviews late night, aren't we, Murph? We're spanning the globe while we're making the most of what we can, aren't we, Murph?
We are definitely doing that. I do want to point out that I think someone should highlight Eric Lopez just said, unfortunately, there's not more of me. Just cut that and put it wherever you want. I think that's great.
We'll add that as a drop.
Yeah, unfortunately. But you're right, Eric. We are doing interviews against, cross countries, cross international date lines.
This is a historic episode here. A first.
We are very excited. What the guys are talking about here is our guest for today's show is Ben Lively, who is in the Korean baseball organization. Of course, his season has been cut short due to injury, at least for now. But even despite all that, he was kind enough to join Eric and Brian, and we have that on this show. We'll have a video version of that interview coming up on our YouTube channel as well, so be on the lookout for that. But first of all, before we get started, guys, just tell me about the hoops you had to jump through in order to get this interview.
Well, fortunately, it's called technology and Instagram. Ben Lively reached out to me after he saw the unveiling of one of my top 100 male athletes recently, where Ben Lively was ranked 60th. And so he reached out. We've been trying to get him through different channels since, opening day? The first week of the KBO.
As far as I know, the media relations arm of the KBO is not as robust as we're used to.
Yeah,
Probably.
They're not really they weren't expedient with their responses. But yeah, we've been I think Eric, you put in requests in late March, early April for Ben. So it's been that long.
So we've been working on this for a while now. Unfortunately, Ben Lively recently got hurt, so he's been doing rehab. But if there's a positive from that, it means he has a little more extra time. So. Like I said, he reached out when he saw that he was ranked in the top. He was ranked 60th. In fact, he tweeted that out and very excited that he was ranked 60th. And so I got him to talk, and we agreed to do it. And Murph was gracious enough to agree to it as well, to give up a few hours of sleep. Although, as it turns out, Murph, I mean, we're going to exaggerate it. We started to disappoint. We were thinking maybe we have to do the interview at 3, 4 in the morning. It wasn't that late. We did not have to do it that late, Murph.
No, it wasn't that bad. When you do an interview at 11:30 at night, I mean, that's not that bad. That's like talking to someone after like a 16-inning baseball game. You've been there before.
So wait, 11:30 at night is what time in South Korea?
12:30.
Yeah.
Oh, 12:30 the following day, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes. So he was about. He took some time to talk to us prior to him to going to lunch and prior to us going to sleep. That's how this works. And we hit up a lot of different topics with him. So we're looking forward to airing this interview. We're excited about it, exclusively here on the Banneret, and talked about a lot of different topics, including what's it like to play, sports, in a different country where they know what they're doing, as opposed to other places. And we talked about his UCF career.
Wow, we're talking about shade. Holy smokes!
Just saying. We'll say. I mean, maybe. Hey, who knows? Maybe later on, we'll have optimism for other sports here in the States. But we'll talk about that with him over there. What's it like in South Korea? We'll talk about his UCF career. Of course, he was a 4th-round draft pick in the baseball. So we're looking forward to having. We'll have Ben here momentarily. We'll air that interview here shortly.
All right. Well, actually, we're going to do it right now. What do you say? Here is Eric and Brian with former UCF pitcher and current pitcher for the Samsung Lions of the Korean Baseball Organization, Ben Lively.
All right, and joining us now, he is, of course, one of the greats at UCF, of course, part of the 2011-2012 UCF teams that made the NCAA tournament, a regional final in Coral Gables, a 4th-round draft pick in the Major League Baseball draft, currently playing in the KBO. We hope to get him back soon here. I speak of Ben Lively joining us here. Ben, how you doing?
Doing good, guys. How are you doing?
Doing great, man. Just tell us a little bit about what's it like right now over there. You've been playing the KBO. I know you're currently rehabbing from an injury, but what's it like playing over there?
Oh, man. Feels like glorified practices. But it's still good, We're still getting to play, and everything still counts. So you still get that chance to compete and play some games, actually. So it's definitely a lot more than what's going on over there.
Yeah. Well, Ben, as a competitor and as a guy who's pitched in major league stadiums and all these raucous crowd environments, when you pitch in front of no fans in a game that's supposed to mean something, and you need to still have those juices going, but there's nobody cheering or booing, does it make a difference as a performer?
I mean, I think so for me because like in a big situation, you definitely hear the crowd and you get fired up and take it to the next level. And here you're just like, more like, okay, slow down. Think of it as like a glorified bullpen. You know what you need to do, execute it. There's no noise to get you out of it. Only thing you're hearing is the other team in the other dugout. That's either just going to annoy you or fire you up just as much as you can make it.
What has this year been like for you? I know it's kind of been a struggle on the mound for you, but what has this season been like for you over there in Korea? And right now you're fighting an injury. Just what has it been like?
Oh, man. Just it feels like 2020. First 2 games by 1 run. Then my 3rd game I get hit in the hand. I try to stay in the game. They take me out. Then end up getting a loss that game too. And then next game, warm me up before the game, I just felt something in my rib. And I was like, oh, no. And just got the MRI, and I was like, well, this is great because 2020 couldn't be any worse. But I'm getting healthy pretty quick, It's like it subsided very, very fast, and they're thinking about 2 weeks I'll be back to games, and I'm going to try to be an absolute animal when I get back on the mound.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to go back to when you agreed to sign with the Samsung Lions. Obviously, you played for years at the major league level with the Phillies and the Royals, so in 2019, you're traded to the Diamondbacks, and then after that, you sign with the Samsung Lions in August of 2019. What did you know about the KBO at the time that you signed, and what was the adjustment like when you got there?
I mean, when I got Arizona, there was a lot of talk that they were going to get rid of Greinke, and I would have a chance to start. And then when I was with the Royals, I was bullpen starter, just getting played with, and that wasn't fun. But when I got to Arizona, they wanted me to be a starter because they were going to do some deals at the deadline. And they made some deals, but they also picked up an extra starter. And right after that deadline passed, Korea contacted me. And so I went to the coaches the next day, and I was like, hey, I just got an offer to go to Korea. and I was still on the roster, and I was like, I mean, like, what do you guys think? And they were like, well, it's up to you, but I mean, we don't like, we're not going to deny it for you. We're not going to like do anything. It's your decision. So I was like, well, personally, good time to go take some money and have a new opportunity over there and get back on track. So I took it, came here, and the only thing I knew about the KBO then is I had a couple buddies playing here, but I mean, they didn't play long, but they liked it. So I was kind of fired up to come over here, and it's been fun. It's definitely a different world over here.
Yeah, did it take you a while to get adjusted to the culture and the language barrier and all that stuff?
Oh, I'm still getting adjusted to the language barrier. But the culture is mainly based on like respect. Like, you respect your elders, and other than that, it's just like, it's pretty much like really small things, like saying like hello to everybody in the morning. Like, if you don't, like, some people that look at you like, what's wrong with you? And I'm just like, you say hello, you say enjoy your meal, and just respect everybody, and they respect you, and it's pretty much easy going.
It's a lot of, like, it's very genteel. Everybody respects each other immensely. It's like you said, it's almost an offense if you don't show outward respect towards someone.
Oh yeah, and you just get stared at.
And then obviously this season with all the coronavirus regulations that MLB is trying to figure out right now as well, but for you guys in KBO, you're living through it. So air high fives, no spitting of sunflower seeds, which is such a part of the game naturally, and all these other things that are normal to baseball that are no longer part of the game. As just a baseball player for so long, how long did it take you to sort of adjust to that and living that way as a baseball player?
I mean, first off, you got to find sunflower seeds. It's not that easy. But I mean, like, I don't know. It's pretty easy to control spitting in the dugout and stuff like that. I mean, if you need to, there's a bathroom right there inside. And so like the virus here, so it started in Korea in our city of Daegu. Like, I am in the city right now where it blew up in that church. And the past week we've had one new case. Yeah, there hasn't, it's like gone. And they had a strict ruling when it first came out to make everyone stay home. They said it was a ghost town here, like when it happened. So it like blew up, but it went away so fast. So like their regulations and definitely the US regulations are way different. They're actually very, very strict here. But I mean, that's the only thing it's gonna take. You just gotta take that one little time that's gonna suck, but stay inside for a little bit, suck it up. I mean, when I first got here, I couldn't leave my apartment for 2 weeks or I could be deported. So, I mean, everyone wants to cry and complain about not being able to do stuff, but everyone's going to cry and complain about the virus still going around.
I mean, it's you got to stay inside. You have to wear a mask when you go outside. Your social distancing, all that stuff. I mean, you guys that's just a fact of life over in Korea, where everybody seemed to follow that right away.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they're very like concerned about their health here. Like, you see everywhere that people are like doing something to clean. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It's just like they always carry stuff with like very like cosmetic stuff, and they do like all their stuff. Like, they're very, very clean people. Healthcare, very, very clean. It's pretty wild. I didn't expect that.
And like, do you still live in or when you go back to the U.S., you live in Florida, right? Do you still live in Pensacola?
Yeah, Pensacola.
So, I mean, I'm not going to get political, but when you see what's happening with all the spikes again and coronavirus cases going up, and Florida's had been a bit of a hot spot, like, what do you see when you see that COVID's kind of back on the rise here?
The tourists are heading to the beach. I mean, you laugh about it as a joke, but it's probably true. I mean, everyone's traveling because it is summertime, and this is the time of the year. Like, my dad runs a fishing boat. Like, he relies on tourists coming down there to go fishing. And when he's not working, he's very grumpy. So, I mean, it's hard to know exactly where it's all coming from, the spread, but I mean, it has to be travelers. I mean, it's pretty much the only thing that when someone comes here in Korea, like, they know exactly where they came from. Like they said there was a case in Seoul the other day. These people came from Bangladesh, and like it's just so small, but the U.S. is just still so many, and it's hard to really pinpoint it. You can take your opinions everywhere.
And one of the things but back to baseball about winning Korea, I think previously, years ago, when players went from Major League Baseball to Korea, it was almost an admittance that their career was over, that they could no longer cut it, and they went to Korea to play more baseball. When you look at guys like Eric Thames, who played in Korea, had a really successful run there, came back to the Major Leagues, and was a big slugger for the Brewers. Josh Lindblom, who pitched the Major Leagues, went to Korea, was the MVP last year, now signed a multi-year contract with the Brewers. And you've got guys like David Buchanan, former White Sox, Howard Saladino on your team in Samsung. With you guys, do you guys see KBO as something that can springboard you back in the major leagues?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, that's why a lot of people are here to get a new start, and that's why Matt Harvey is trying to come here. And my buddy Addison Russell just signed here. So, like, it's definitely a place to where if you tear it up, you got a very, very good chance to get a good contract back in the States.
When you rate like KBO, like you've pitched at all levels of minor leagues and baseball, whatnot, is KBO like a AA level, AAA level? What do you think?
There's teams that are high AAA, and there's teams that are AA. Like it's honestly the same. Like there's some good teams. Like it's no lower competition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, Ben, talk about your journey, though. It all started, going to UCF and having the great run that you did at UCF. Just talk about first, what made you decide to go to UCF?
First time I went to campus. So I was playing summer ball with the Miami, Florida Bombers down in Miami, and had a couple of good years with them, and the coaches were like, "Oh, you need to come check it out," and I'm like, "Okay, like whatever." Like, I was still young. I'm like, "Oh, there's no way I'm playing college baseball or whatever." Like, okay, I'm just having fun playing travel ball. And then started throwing a little bit harder, and I was like, "Wow." And I started getting more letters from colleges, and UCF was always there. And right when I went to the campus, I was like, "Wow, this place is sweet." And
wait, do you have any specific examples about what you liked about the campus?
I mean, it was just new, and it was up and coming, and it was just cool. Like, that was their last year of Adidas when I got there, and they had the whole picture, like, we're going to go to Nike, and, like, everything was just, like, brand new. And, like, I went to, like, a couple other schools, and, it's just normal colleges, like, old school, like, Mississippi colleges. Like, I was like, this place just stuck out to me. And I was like, this seems like great. I love Orlando. I love the Oviedo area. It's close to the East Coast. It's not far from home. So it was like, still Florida. That fired me up. And I committed right away. I committed when I visited.
I would imagine. And what was that like? Because when you came there, you were part of that group that helped Terry Rooney kind of build the program back up. They had some down years when he took over. They kind of had to build it back up, and you guys got back to the NCAA tournament. You got in 2011, which was the first time for the program since 2004. You got to go to Tallahassee Regional. Then 2012, you had that great year. I've talked to Ronnie Richardson and Harrison Ukari about it, about that magical year where we were right there against Rice in the final weekend to decide the conference. You go to Coral Gables. Just take me through that journey when you get there and help kind of turn this program around there and have two NCAA appearances during that run.
Dude, our team that year, all I can say is we were focused and we were having so much fun. It was like when it came down to baseball, we were locked in, and when we were out of baseball, we were we always did stuff with each other. Like the team was always together. So it was like you're very accountable when you got to the field to like get what you need to be done. Because the last thing we wanted was Terry Rooney yelling at us and taking us on a 20-mile run. Oh, God. Yeah. So, like, I mean, it just kind of led to one thing to another. Like, it was just, God, everything was just in sync. Like, those 2 years, like, there would be games where someone would be down, you get picked back up, pitcher would struggle, hitters would pick them up. It was just everyone had each other's backs, and it stayed throughout the whole year, and it was incredible. I mean, it was so much fun to witness that and be on a team like that.
A talented team. You had Darnell Sweeney at shortstop, who obviously had a cup of coffee with the Phillies, ironically enough. You had obviously guys like Ronnie Richardson, of course, DJ Hicks, a two-time All-American, and then the back end of that bullpen in 20 with Joe Rogers, arguably the best closer in the history of the program, and Roman Madrid, who I've told Murph, in that 1 year he was there in 2012 was huge. That was kind of like the Yankees, Wetland, and Rivera back there with the bullpen, which had to help guys like you out, knowing that you had a bullpen that deep.
Oh, when I was pitching there, it was like, get through 5, you're good. But, of course, I wanted to go deeper. But if you got through 5 innings, our bullpen was incredible. And our hitters that year, like, oh, man, you got DJ at the plate with people on base, or Ronnie and Darnell. Darnell made every play that got hit to him. Just, like I said, everything was in sync, and it was just fun to watch.
And you pitched a great game in that Coral Gables region, if I remember correctly. You were pitching against Missouri State, if I remember, and they had their pitcher that was going to be a highly draft pick. And you pitched a match pitch for them. What was it like to pitch in an NCAA tournament environment like you did in those 2 years, 2011 and 2012? In 2012, you were really good in that matchup there in a classic.
Oh, it was fun. It was hot. I almost died after the game.
Well, it is in Miami though for that time of year.
Oh man, it was so hot and humid. I remember like coming in the dugout and I was just drinking as much water as I could. But after I got taken out, the inning after I was done, I ended up getting a full body cramp. I fell down in the dugout, and they had to take me to the back room. I couldn't walk; they had to carry me. And I got put on an IV, and they said if I got sick from the IV, I would have to go to the hospital because I was having heat stroke.
Holy
no! Yeah, it was brutal. And I broke my nose the next day.
Wow, that was pretty adventurous. But you won that game. You won the 2-1 game. Yeah, that was a game that had the rain delay too, if I remember correctly. I think Joe Rogers got out of a bases loaded jam, if I remember correctly, game, and that was a crazy ball game there. Is that what are your favorite memories from your days there at UCF? Because in 2013 you had your best year, first team All-USA, and you won 9 games or more multiple times. No UCF pitcher had done that since Tim Bascom. It got you to get drafted in the 4th round of the 2013 draft. But what memories or what game stands out for you from your UCF days?
Definitely the Miami game and the Marshall and Jacksonville game at home at UCF that 13 year. Those were just because I pitched against Chris Anderson. He was in Jacksonville, ended up going 1st round, and Aaron Blair that was at Marshall ended up going 1st round. Mm-hmm. And the whole backstop looked like radar guns, and it was wild.
Yeah, it's always. So you notice that when the radar guns are there and the scouts are there pushing and looking at you, you can tell.
I mean, it doesn't look like people. It just looks like a big old silhouette of just silver, just pointing to it. And you kind of look up and you're like, all right, I can see what I got in there today. But the game that was, I think, the most fun to pitch in was against Marshall when me and Aaron both went 7 innings. I think we both had 13 or 14 strikeouts. And it was just back and forth the whole game. And that was wild. That was a pretty cool game to pitch in.
Yeah, you can always get excited when you're facing off against a pitcher who's always also pumped up and, people talk about him in the draft and things. That kind of gets the competitive juices going, right? You guys can tell. Even though every game is important when you pitch, but when you're facing another high-level pitcher, it's almost like you got to be on your game that day.
Oh, for sure. But definitely my top game was my first game at Florida State, for sure.
First game at FSU, and that Dick Hauser, that's a hitter's park too. I mean, that's not the easiest place to play.
Oh, yeah. I grew up a Florida State fan when I was younger. And I was supposed to start on Sunday. Then on Friday night, all of a sudden, they tell me to go to the bullpen. And I'm like, and I come running in while they're playing O Canada. And I was throwing as hard as I possibly could.
I bet. What was it like playing for Terry there? Because you mentioned he's intense guy there, but obviously brought in you and Ronnie in a great recruiting class there to build that team around. But what was that experience like there? And obviously, Coach Godwin was on that staff for that year before he moved on and coaching. Obviously, he's doing good things at ECU. I mean, that was a pretty special time there as well. But what was that like from a coaching standpoint?
No, I mean, Rooney was Rooney. He was very intense, but he wanted the best of everybody. Like, we butted heads a little bit my freshman and the beginning of my sophomore year. But I feel like once you show how committed you are, he respects it and kind of backs off a little bit. But he's definitely going to push you, and I love that. And he definitely made me a better player and definitely a way better pitcher, how I focus towards the game and what I need to do to get things right. And Godwin was the competitor. He was ready to go in Miami's dugout.
Yeah, he was intense. I remember I've taken some bus rides there. I mean, Palumbo was the other assistant, I believe, in 2011, right? I mean, that was a fascinating coaching staff because you're right. They were all intense, and I think you guys fed off of that, though, didn't you? Oh,
for sure. Yeah, we were ready to go. You weren't going to start any trouble with us. Look, I remember playing guys in pro ball still. They were like, dude, we used to hate playing y'all. I was like, why? He goes, we would see the coaches yelling at y'all during warm-ups. Y'all were, like, slapping tags down infield, outfield. And I was like, why do you hate that? And he's like, I don't know. It's just like y'all are doing, like, so much extra stuff. We're like, no, we're just doing what they told us to do. It's just part of it. And they were like, oh, okay. Like, we thought y'all were just being, like, obnoxious. And I was like, no. We're just doing what we're supposed to do.
Right. They weren't used to having that intensity there on the field. Like, I remember you guys would spike the ball after an inning and over and things like that. I guess some people, took back to that over the years, but that was just part of it. I mean, that was part of the package there to get you guys the most out of you.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
What was it like for you when you got drafted that day in the 4th round? Did you expect it to go in that point? Were you not? What's it like? You're going into that MLB draft. What was your thinking process? Because it's a lengthy draft back then. And, did you have an idea where you might go or you had no idea?
I actually had a call the day before the draft from the Oakland A's, and they told me that they were going to take me 2nd round. Mm-hmm. I was like, wow, that's pretty sick. Like, I got kind of fired up. And then nothing after that. I didn't even talk to the Reds except for, like, the winter meetings and stuff when they came down to visit the school and stuff. And it got through the 2nd round, and I was like, oh, whatever. Like, I'm just pumped to get a chance to go play pro ball. Like, I'm not too, like, worried about my placement number and all that stuff. And next thing you know, Reds called me in the 3rd round. They're like, hey, you're going to be our next pick. I'm like, oh, okay. Like, sounds like I've heard this before, like, whatever. Then 4th round comes around, there it is, and I'm like, oh, hell yeah, like Cincinnati, that's sick. And I knew a couple of guys that got drafted by them, and I was like, oh, let's go. Like, a kid from my hometown was already there with them, and it was fun. Flew out to Arizona 2 days later.
Describe that experience. Go ahead, Murph. Go ahead.
Well, I mean, yeah. Well, I think I know what you're going to ask for, like, the aftermath of being drafted and sort of the realization of that. What was that like then? I mean, just what was the next week life as you realize I'm a major league player now. I'm drafted by a major league team.
I mean, it was just like more of like a focus, but it's more like a personal focus. Like, you're not going to have your college teammates there to back you up every single time. It's more of like, in the first early years of pro ball is finding yourself and what you need to do for your own self to help you stay successful. And you definitely see it very quick. It took me a little bit because there'd be games I'd be trying to pick people up and people would look at me like, what are you doing? I was like, all right, I'll shut up. Sorry. But I found it pretty quick and I just kind of got on a routine and just been sticking with it. I still do the same routine to this day.
You get traded to Philadelphia for Marlon Byrd, and then when you get to Philly, that's when you get your chance to break into the major leagues. That moment, that has to be something totally unique. What was that day like for you when you broke in with the Phillies?
It Yeah, words can't describe it. I got called up a few times for taxi squad, like just to be in the bullpen, just in case if they needed me on a doubleheader or something. But I didn't pitch. But I was around the team, so I kind of got like used to everybody. And of course, I've already made friends that were up there and stuff like that. And when they called me and they're like, "Okay, you're starting tomorrow," I was like, "Who are we playing?" They were like the Giants. I was like, "Okay, Professor Posey, Seminole, let's go." And
This was
get to the field.
This was 2017, right? So, I was going to say they're not the reigning world champions, but they were still pretty good at that point. That was a good team.
Oh yeah, they're always a pretty solid team.
Yeah.
And so I get to the field and it's just like everyone leaves you alone. Like no one was coming. Like even though that was my first start, like you could see the media in there just like staring at me, and I would just, hey. But like everyone leaves you alone. It's like it's such a surreal feeling. Like everyone's like, "All right, it's your time. Let's go." And right when I got on the mound, my first thought was, "Okay, this first pitch is going right down the middle. Like I am throwing a strike for my first major league pitch for sure." It was right down the middle. And then I think the most mind-blowing thing to me is like I was feeling good. I was throwing strikes. But every time I got 2 strikes, I could not strike anybody out. And I ended up getting 0 strikeouts. Got my first hit before I got my first strikeout.
Wow. It's a little different, tougher in the big leagues there, getting that strikeout, the 2-out pitch there. You know, they foul pitches off.
Oh, man, they know that strike zone better than me. Like, you see the hitters, like, just ducking their head right there, and they'll shake their head right away, and that ball's 2 inches off, and you're like, dang it. But once I got like toward like the 7th inning, I was like getting pretty comfortable, and I was like, all right, like it's pretty fun. But then you have those games that ball stays over the middle of the plate too long, and it happens very, very quick.
Yeah,
very quick.
Not much room for mistakes. Did you have a moment, or do you remember a moment in which you maybe caught yourself and you know, because when you broke in, it all feels very new. But was there a time when you felt confident that and aware that, you know, I am now a major leaguer? I belong here. I deserve to be here. Was there a moment for you when that really kind of clicked for you?
Boston, my 3rd game. So I went 7 innings against the Giants. I went 7 innings against the Braves. And then I went 7 against Boston. And I'll never forget, in the 7th inning, Pete McCann comes out there. I had Pedroia up to play with 2 strikes. And Pete McCann walks out to the mound and just stared at me and he goes, "This is your last guy. Strike him out." And turned around and walked in. And Pete was kind of a scary guy. Like, he wasn't a big guy, but his demeanor was very aggressive. Mm-hmm. And like, he didn't speak. He's one of those managers you didn't really talk to that much, but when he did speak to you, you're like, okay. And I struck him out, and I was really, really fired up. That was definitely after the game. I was just sitting in the locker room, and I was like, wow, all right, let's keep this going.
That's pretty amazing. What's the biggest thing you learned from the time there in the major leagues? I know you were always kind of be frustrating back and forth minors in the big leagues throughout there that you're even using now, pitching in the KBO, and you will use in the future in the rest of your career.
I think more is like there's games where you want to set guys up for strikeouts, and there's games that you want to pitch effectively early that you're going to get a bunch of, because a lot of teams have different approaches. Like, there's teams going to have a bunch of swings. So if you're going to play a team versus a bunch of swings or versus a patient team, there's different ways to pitch against them. And I learned that from a couple of guys and like watched them use it in games. And so like I've been putting that to use ever since I started seeing it. It works when you throw your right pitches. It makes life very easy as a pitcher.
How involved have you been with Greg Lovely and his staff at UCF Baseball? I know they've tried to bring in four players more often. Have you talked to Greg or that current staff?
Yeah, we talk a little bit. Like, he sends me emails and stuff, and I mean, when I go down there, I come by the field and say what's up and everything. Like, every time I go down there, I go by the field. I mean, of course, I got to go say what's up to the boys. But, yeah, we keep in touch. I think eventually I'll make the golf tournament one day.
I've heard about
I hear that's cutthroat. I hear there's people trying to get in that thing. Yeah.
When was the last time you were there? Have you been there since they have now? It's now John Giuliano Park. They've had renovations there. When was the last time you were there?
2 years ago.
Okay.
I went to a football game. I think they were playing UConn.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it was 2 years ago. But I usually try to go at least once a year. But I didn't get the chance to make it this past year. I was just kind of busy. And coming back over here, I was getting a lot of stuff together.
For sure.
But if we got college football, I most likely will be there this year.
Well, we're all hoping. Fingers crossed. But obviously, you mentioned you kept attached with the staff. But what did it? Did you follow the team? They won the conference in 2017. The American got back to the tournament since 2012. So, and the program was having a great year this year prior to the shutdown. But seems to be headed in the right direction once again, which has to make you excited as an alum.
Oh, absolutely! And they went up there and swept Auburn this year. And that was cool because I got a bunch of friends at Auburn. And I was like, "Hi, you guys suck."
That's pretty good. And of course, they had Hankinson, their reliever, goes in the 5th round. Of course, Eric Skogel and your teammate went in the 4th round in 2014. Do you stay in touch with guys like Skogs in the big leagues? And what advice would you give to guys like Hankinson, who's about to kind of start his journey as far as what they're getting themselves into in big league baseball here?
I mean, just do what you need to do to be ready. Anything you need to do. There's no excuse. The trainers are there for you. You got everything you need. Just don't be shy and do what you need to do and stay focused. And, yeah, I talk to big old Skoggles every now and then.
How many of the guys you stay in touch with from that team, right? Like Rogers and those guys, you're all pretty tight.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I talked to them a good bit. I played with Eric with Kansas City. We were on the Royals. That was fun. That was pretty wild. He came banging on my door my first night there. It was pretty fun.
Did you also play with Drew Butera in Kansas City?
No. He was gone when I got there. But I played against him, like, said what's up and stuff.
Sure.
Okay. Right.
Cool.
That's pretty good. Well, now, as we let you go, obviously you're in the rehab. We hope to see you soon. Now, people like Brian have been getting up early to watch you pitch. And there have been UCF fans that have gotten up to watch you pitch because, well, you're the only baseball going on, and they want to see how you're doing. So just tell us a little bit on the rehab and with your timetable and just kind of more about, how you're doing, because a lot of people are interested in and still following you and hoping you're doing okay. So what would you like to tell them?
Oh, I'll be fine. I'm getting well soon. I started throwing this past week, and once I get a couple of long tosses and a couple of bullpens in, I think in like 2 weeks I'll get in a game and back to work.
Well, I look forward to waking up once again at 5 a.m. to get some coffee and watch KBO again. Ben, I thank you so much. As you about to head out to lunch, I'm about to go to sleep. So have a fantastic Monday.
All right, y'all have a good sleep.
So there's Ben Lively, and certainly we all hope he makes it back soon. It's nice to hear that he's getting pretty close to getting back to game action. And as I told him right after this interview ended, I do look forward to the day where I once again get up at 5 a.m., get some coffee, and get back to watching KBO, because I really haven't watched any without him in it. So I look forward to that. But it was great. Not only him talking about what it's like to play in the KBO now, it's certainly reminiscing on his old UCF days, what it was like playing for Terry Rooney and that sort of intensity and how they sort of butted heads early on. But it was really a wide-ranging and I thought a pretty solid answers from Ben.
Yeah, it's good to see. I'm always the guy who's like, if you're a UCF alumnus and you have a job in pro sports, I think that's a great thing. I don't care where it is. I don't care for whom it is. Like it's a good thing to continue doing the thing that you love. Yeah, and
well, in the KBO, and Brian mentioned it during the interview. And Murph, you could expand on it. It's not where guys go now because they, to end their careers. This is where people are going to get a second or third chance, a second, third look from the big leagues. This is an opportunity, and especially in the year that we're in, where, up until last weekend where the Japanese league started, they've been the only game in town.
Yeah, I mean, there have been more eyes on the KBO, not just from the public, the baseball-loving public, but executives and obviously, team brass, because maybe they can look at these guys and depending on their performance, we could look into signing them. I mean, last year's KBO MVP, who was a former major leaguer, Josh Lindblom, he played the major leagues for about 5 years, then went to the KBO, won the MVP in the KBO, and then signed a 3-year deal with the Brewers this winter. And I mean, that's happened with Eric Thames and a couple other guys. So certainly you don't look at the KBO as some sort of deserted island of misfit toys anymore. It's more about guys who are really trying to rehabilitate their careers and get back in the major leagues, like Ben said he's certainly trying to do.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. It's not like, I think we think of it as, if it's not Major League Baseball, it's basically just like an independent minor league team, right? Like where guys go to play out the string. But that's not the case. There have been several players who have gone out there and come back to the majors. There have been several KBO players who started in the KBO and came over to the United States. And if it works out, as I hope it does for Ben, then that's never a bad thing. He's proven he can pitch in the majors before, and if he works on the things he feels like he needs to work on and improves and gets to the point where some team may want him to come back, that's a good thing. Of course, it's going to look really weird in 2020, obviously, but we'll see how everything works in baseball stateside in 2021 with everything that's going on. We'll probably touch upon that in a little bit. Also some other news from around the world of UCF sports. Are we going to see bands? Probably not next year. We'll talk about that and a few more items when we return. This is the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. We're back after this.
Today's episode is brought to you by Cars.com. With over 2 million vehicles and 50,000 more added every day, Cars.com will match you with the perfect car for you, your budget, your life, your style. And if you're ready to say goodbye to your current car, Cars.com will get you an instant offer to cash it in. Just start by entering your license plate and get matched with a local dealer who will write you the check. So whether you're looking to buy or sell, just go to Cars.com. It's magical.
All right, welcome back to the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast. Jeff Sharon, Eric Lopez, Brian Murphy with you. Kind of a grab bag of stuff we can talk about here. By the way, if you want to ask us a question that we can answer on the next show, please do. Holler at us at UCF_Banneret on Twitter. Also, Facebook.com/Black and Gold Banneret. And don't forget to follow us, as always, on blackandgoldbanneret.com. Your home for UCF sports on SB Nation. All right, couple other things we wanted to talk about, Murph and Eric. 30 more UCF players hopped on campus to begin this preliminary run-up to the football season workouts. This is in the midst of several programs already coming forth with COVID-19 diagnoses, and actually in other sports as well. We heard about some players and caddies in the PGA, which just restarted, which is about as socially distant a sport as it gets. Obviously, Novak Djokovic has tested positive for COVID-19 in the world of tennis. Right after baseball, it was announced that Major League Baseball, I should say, is coming back. A couple of members of the Colorado Rockies have tested positive for it. I think that came out about 15 minutes after they finalized the deal to start the season. It just feels so much like we're walking a tightrope here, but I guess we can consider this phase 2 of reopening, right, Brian?
Sort of. Well, if it is phase 2, it's not really. It's like phase 1.25. Because not everything that's supposed to be happening at this time as far as athletes coming back on campus is happening right now. So what has happened, kind of as scheduled, is that about 30 more football players, mostly younger freshmen, came on campus this week. Now, as per the first group who arrived on June 1st, this current group will now go through a week of testing and education. They'll not be allowed to use the facilities or work out until they pass a coronavirus test, and they will not be able to work out until at least next Monday at the absolute earliest. And of course, we know that 3 players from the first crop of 60 did test positive, and they were put in quarantine. However, you should remember when UCF Athletics kind of put out its initial plan for when they were going to start, who was going to start coming back when, this was also the time in which men's and women's basketball players were supposed to be able to come back on campus. But that's not going to happen. As we were informed on Monday, those players are not coming back in June as expected. Mostly, I've heard that, those players to really prepare need to play pickup and to play, 3-on-3 and 5-on-5, and they can't do that right now in a formal setting. And so I think the thinking is it's not worth it to bring the players back for basketball if all they're doing is conditioning work. So they're staying off campus for now. And then, later on in this, we're supposed to have other sports in the fall, like soccer and women's volleyball coming on campus in July, but that's not happening either. They won't come back until at least August, kind of right around where, their usual first practice start dates. So they're being delayed from July to August. Women's basketball is being delayed from June, like mid-June or right now to maybe mid-July at the earliest probably. And then obviously you have football, which is still kind of moving forward. We do need to see what happens with these 30 players who just hit campus. But, also included in this week's news is that if any of those kids do test positive for coronavirus, we won't know about it. As you might remember, yeah. So the first 3 kids who did, well, we don't know their names, but it was released by UCF Athletics that we did have 3 of the first 60 players who were brought back on campus for football. 3 of those 60 players tested positive for coronavirus, put in quarantine. I think that was back on June 9th. Mm-hmm. Well, people in the football program didn't like that was put out there by athletics. That was publicized by athletics, and there was a release this week talking about how some student athletes voiced concern about the fear that their personal health information might be divulged. People want to know who's testing positive. Well, kids really don't want people to know right now, so that's all being made private. And how it's all being sort of made private is through this dashboard that UCF will hopefully launch sometime next month, which will basically include all of the coronavirus positive cases within the UCF community. So students, including student athletes, teachers and faculty, staff, anybody who tests positive within the UCF community, they'll be counted on this dashboard, but it will be wholly generic. No one will be broken down by major or sport or whatever. So anybody who does test positive in athletics will be thrown into that group, but you'll never know how many or who was it. So, and I even asked for an update on the 3 players that we did know about, and I was told by athletics that they're not getting into specifics anymore as they move on to this next stage, and then basically let the dashboard speak for itself.
Which, in defense of the student athletes, I think is a good thing. I mean, obviously they don't want, I don't blame them because you can almost, figure out, if it was 3 of the first 60, well, that's, it's someone within one of those, within that group. There's sort of a process of elimination there. I don't think it's a bad thing that the university is taking that stance in terms of trying to protect the student athletes. Although if that continues into the fall, and if we do have a season, if someone disappears from UCF athletics for 2 weeks, the questions are going to arise. Yeah. It's a tough, I think it's a tough tightrope to walk, but I don't think UCF or anyone else for that matter in college sports should be lambasted at all for erring on the side of the privacy of the student athletes. Don't you think?
No, I definitely agree with that. I mean, this is different than pro sports. These are college athletes who are not paid. They really should be students first. And so if we're going to make them students, then we shouldn't care about. I mean, I understand the argument against what I'm about to say, but we shouldn't care about. We should care about them equally as if they were biology students who were testing positive for COVID-19. Now, obviously, people will say, people aren't, wagering on biology students or interested to watch them experiment or, paying money to watch them experiment, hundreds of dollars worth. But
wouldn't that be fun?
Yes, right? Wouldn't that be nice? Right. If we put actually more put more money into actual education. Right. But the point being is, though, they're still student athletes, and they need to be treated like students and treated like, in some aspects, like private citizens. So I think that's what's trying to be accomplished here, and we'll see what happens from here on out. But if anybody asks, what happened to the 3 guys who were put in quarantine, I don't know, and we certainly won't hear anything public about it. I have a sneaking suspicion that we will find out who the players were, but it probably will never be, public knowledge. It'll all be sort of off the record stuff, but those things have a tendency to leak out. But certainly if there is word, it will not come from UCF athletics like it did about 2.5 weeks ago.
Yeah, or it'll probably be like the players themselves who maybe volunteer that. I mean,
right.
Sometimes
they might. Let me play devil's advocate. Like, there's not like any names have ever been leaked of all these schools. There's been no names that have been leaked.
Right.
So what is?
Yeah.
I feel that's an excuse more than wait, privacy of player. There was no names that have been leaked, and I got news for them. Let's say we have a football season. We're going to be able to notice if there's a kid that you think is a starter, let's say a quarterback, a running back, whatever, and all of a sudden he's not even on the field. What are you going to do then?
Well, Jeff, we understand that. It's like Randy Charlton going down with mono for 2 weeks. That was the thing that everybody was trying to keep under wraps for a long time.
Right, and I agree with that motive, but I don't think I will. I feel like this was a reaction to everybody freaking out every time a number comes out. They got 8, some X amount of players. I just feel like they're reacting, not UCF. I'm not even talking about UCF in general, because they're not it's worth noting, they are not the only school that is going this route.
Right. So what you're saying, Eric, is that you think that this is more of a CYA move by the schools that just so happens to align with protecting the players.
Correct, because again, there was no player's name. Like, if a player name had leaked out, which was a concern, then okay, I get it. But there's no one, even on where people have reported certain numbers of certain players in different schools have taken. Not one person has said, "Hey, so and so got it." No one has said that. I think I think the media, the coverage of it, the reporting has been responsible. No one has tried to say, "Well, who is it?"
That's fair.
So I don't think that's I just don't agree with them saying, well, this is in their privacy. Yeah, it's their private, but people are trying to find out information. And what my worry is, I think some people will perceive this as, are you trying to hide something? And I don't think that's the case, but I think there's going to be people that think they're trying to hide something. And we have enough cynicism as there is now. So, I think these are very important information. And hopefully the schools are using this with their other schools and trying to figure all this out. So I'm not saying that they need to tell us. I just hope they use that. It's not one of these things where, like, all right, we're you guys always freak out every time we give you a report, so we're not going to give it to you. I hope it's not because of that. That's my concern.
Well, I think that I would want to know, like, to what extent somebody knows how many student athletes on a given team have tested positive for COVID-19, right? So if that's the case, is that information being shared with the NCAA? Is it being shared with the conference? Because if those numbers increase over time, we don't know if they will, but there's a distinct possibility that it might in the next couple months as we approach the fall. The people who make the decisions at the American and in the NCAA, they're going to need that data in order to make those decisions. So what happens with that information then? I think that's what I'm interested about, what the sort of the pattern, the flow of information is, right, Brian?
Well, certainly no. I think that information has to be made aware to the conference and to the NCAA, because UCF is taking pointers and tips from them as to how to proceed. So they have to know that information. The guard here is against the public, disclosure of positive cases. Now, even if we want to argue that, and I understand the points there, let's say the 3 players who did test positive are in quarantine and then are tested as per protocol, tested twice in 24 hours, both come back negative, are allowed to rejoin the workout population, which would now be 87 other teammates or so. If those kids are cleared, like, is it so bad that we can't even publicize that? Like, we can't even publicize good news anymore? Because when I was trying to dig for information about the kids in quarantine, I was just sort of shunned off at like, well, there's no information on that. Like, but even if there's good news, we have nothing to share, which I feel like would be a little odd.
Yeah. I mean, that's where when you have like close practices now, it's like not like you can sit out there with a roster and pick out people, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, and I think it's valuable information from this standpoint. Look, I mean, there's 130 Division I college football programs. So, I mean, we all knew there was going to be some positives. There was going to be some tests that it was going to pop up. There was going to be some guys that they tested positive for it. But I think there's more invaluable information of it. Like for example, let's say we find out in about a month or two, and I'll give you a conservative number. Let's say 1,000 football players have tested positive from the 130 schools, which would come out to about an average. I don't know what the quick average is. You guys can figure that out. But, how are they doing? Are they fine? Do they get a cold? Are they going how many are being sent to the hospital? Because I think those are valuable information. And I'm not saying, again, they don't have to share it with the public, but they better share it with important people when they come and better take that into effect with any decisions they make moving forward. And I think they will, but I think that is valuable information to find out as far as what are they getting? How are they getting it? Are they getting it because they're working out, or are they getting it because they're going out? I think that's a significant difference too. We've seen this across the sports where reports are where the Ole Miss players got it because some of the players went out to a party. LSU got it because they ran out at Tigerland. That's all very valuable information, not just for the universities but for health in general, to find out what's causing you to catch this and maybe hopefully learn from it and try to get better at things. I think those are equally more important information than, hey, so how many players tested positive? How are they doing? I think is just as important, and how they got it, I think is important.
I mean, certainly they could do some contact tracing as to how they got it, as far as like, where people were at certain times and you're around each other, and you can basically extrapolate from there how they got it or where they got it from. I have a thing I wanted to bring up because I saw this in the MLB news today, and it should be noteworthy for sports nationwide as we kind of figure out what the next steps are. And obviously, everybody's doing the big thing now is temperature checks. So, like UCF, if an athlete wants to go to another facility, another building, every time they go into a new building, they have to have their temperature taken. I think 100.4 is the access point. If you're at 100.4 or above, you're not allowed in, or you're shoved away. But anyway, temperature checks are a big deal. There was a Phillies player, or at least a staff member of the Phillies spring training organization, who tested positive yesterday. Or we found out yesterday he tested positive. He had passed every temperature check, and I want to. And again, this is the hard part of all of this. This is not. I'm not saying there's a solution to this. I'm saying this is how difficult this fall is going to be. When you say asymptomatic, okay, that means 0 symptoms. So, and then possibly 15 to 40% of the population who had the virus could be asymptomatic. So, just because you don't have a temperature does not mean you don't have the virus. And it proved out in Phillies camp this week, and it's probably going to happen again this year somewhere. It's just another wrinkle in how difficult this is going to be.
Yeah.
And it makes me think that temperature checks by and large are like security theater, which I hate, but it just it makes you feel good. But what is it really telling us? It certainly doesn't give us 100% assurity that we're stopping what we intend to stop.
Yeah, it's like taking your shoes off at the airport. Along those lines, we got word from the American earlier today about assuming college football happens, there will be significant changes to the band and cheerleader environment at games. According to the American, this is according to collegemarching.com. It's a mandate for the 2020 football season and the American is the first conference to do this. 4 main guidelines, all right? Number 1, no visiting team bands or spirit squads. So UCF Marching Knights and the UCF cheerleading team, they will not be permitted to go on the road, all right? Number 2, no on-field performance for the home team's band. You can forget seeing the Marching Knights marching out down on the field, pregame, halftime, postgame, whatever. It's not happening. Number 3, no spirit squads on the field to start the season. Not entirely sure about what that means regarding the rest of the season, but we won't see the cheerleaders on the field at least to start. And number 4, the home team band and spirit squad limits will be reevaluated as stadium restrictions are lifted. So they're kind of leaving that on the open end. But again, that is going to make, again, assuming there is college football, and if you ask me, I'm still not 100% sure that that's going to happen this fall at least. It is going to be a significantly more sterile environment that we're going to be watching on television in terms of if they allow fans in the stands, to what extent do they? And we will not hear and see a lot of that background environment that we're used to seeing at these games. But there's been some hemming and hawing and, moaning and gnashing of teeth on the part of some parents and fans about this. I don't think that this is a bad thing. I think that the American is trying to get out in front and make sure that football happens in some capacity. And how do you do that? You got to limit the access to group environments of as many people as possible, while still treading that line. And if that means we get a full football season in, I'm in favor. I mean, my heart breaks for those kids who are not going to get that experience this fall. But the American is trying to make football happen in as best as possible as they can, and this seems to be a step in that right direction. What do you guys think?
Well, I agree with you on this one, and I love how people are complaining about this. Let me remind the people that are complaining about this: we're in a pandemic. Okay, guess what? It's not going to be just a hunky dory. Of course, I agree with the move. The last thing you want is a ton of people on the field around the players and coaches. In fact, I'm surprised they're even letting them in the building. I don't know why that is. If you're gonna, you can watch the game, but you can't perform. This just makes a ton of sense. And I got bad news for everybody. If there is F season, it's probably going to be very kind of what we've seen with NASCAR and we've seen with golf. There's not going to be a ton. It's not going to be what you've been used to. And I think people need to accept that. We're not going to be a packed house here. It's not going to happen. And certainly not at the trend that we're going. I mean, for folks that don't know, Brian and Jeff had to get me off the cliff before the show. I had to vent and flip out because, that's what happens when you stay home.
Because Eric doesn't like weather people. But anyway.
Well, it's just me losing. Well, it's me losing my mind. But yes, weather people.
One of these days, I swear to God, we're going to do this. All right, I'm going to get Eric Burris on the show, and we're going to hash this out between the two of you. All right.
Well, I get a little nervous when there's lightning and storm warnings while we're trying to record a show. That's all. Rain all the time you want, except when we're recording. This is an important show, important programming for our audience. I don't need the weather to mess up our connections. So I get a little agitated. You
hear that? No rain during the show.
You hear that, Mother Nature? Stop it. Knock it off.
So to Jeff and Murph's credit, they talked me off the ledge before the show, which one of these days maybe we'll just do a blooper show like we did where we just kind of listen to me vent and all that. But I'm not optimistic right all. I mean, people can. This is to me worried about whether they can perform is our least of our problems. And with all due respect, hey, if that shortens halftime, I'm all for it moving it forward.
It's not going to shorten halftime.
It's not going to shorten halftime.
No, unfortunately, you're probably right. So,
well, I will say this. Let me throw the opposing view out there. I want to see what you guys think. If we can't have the band out there, right? Then why are we having football at all? Because you're not okay with the band being out there, but you are okay with with 200, people of the same age smashing into each other, sweating, breathing, spitting on each other, you are okay with that? Like, what's the difference?
Well, you know the difference. You know the difference.
ESPN's not paying him to watch the band, Jeffrey.
Exactly.
Rambling. This ain't Southern.
It's not FAMU. It's not BCU, right? It's not the Florida Classic.
Whatever they got to do to get football on the field, they're going to try to do it in the best way they can. And that's just the reality of it. So Murph's right. I mean, with all due respect to the band, you're not the ones that's bringing in the millions of dollars to these universities that have football on Saturdays. Sorry, I mean that's just is what it is. But you're right. You're not wrong, Jeff. I mean that's a valid question. I mean, why are we even going to have fans? I think these are difficult. I think these are questions that will rise in the coming weeks and months as we get closer to this date with all this uncertainty, because we still have a lot of uncertainty, and that's. For anybody that thinks they know what's going to happen, nobody knows. But I feel for them. I get it. That's their big thing. But I don't have a problem with what the conference is doing. I would rather have conferences be too extreme in the cautious standpoint than being reckless. I'll put it that way. And I think we can agree on that, right?
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
I mean, it's part of the experience. I mean, obviously, college is college, right? There's a bunch of things that we could that are part of that experience. It's just, man, like the more info we get, the closer we get, the more it's like, wow, this is going to be really friggin' weird. But that's the way it's going to be. It's going to be just a weird, bizarre season. Assuming it happens, by the way.
Well, be prepared. Now, I want to say, and I think me and Murph have talked about this off the air. I don't think we're going to have a cancellation of a college football season, for example, in August. Like, you're not going to hear an announcement, hey, there's no college football. I think they'll postpone things. I could see that where they try to postpone it either later in the fall. I wouldn't be surprised if Danny White's suggestion that he did a few weeks ago about playing in the spring gets brought up again. Again, this is all dependent on what happens in the next month or two. Are we still headed in a bad direction, or are we in a better state? We don't know. I mean, a month ago, things were looking pretty good. Now, not so great. So it just depends, and that's the tricky thing about it. There's so much uncertainty. We don't know what to expect. But I would think that all these schools and administrators are thinking of alternative options and not just have their eggs in one basket and assume that, hey, we're all going to be just fine come August and September.
Yeah, I mean, no, that's true. I'm just waiting for the inevitable clash of minds that's going to happen when certain conferences demand that they play a conference-only schedule in the fall, where others are like, "No, we want to play in the spring."
Tell you something. I definitely could see that.
I think we're heading for a real confrontation between some of the conferences about, if this thing extends, toward Labor Day, right? That you're going to see some conferences, who, come out and say, you know what, we'll cancel our non-conference schedule. We're going to play conference games only, starting at the beginning of October, and then you're going to see other conferences like, possibly say, you know what, that's not good. That's not a sound financial decision for some of our programs. And we will have a civil war in college football.
Well, here's a problem though, and I listened to Joe Klatt talk about this because he's talked to some administrators. Part of the problem is every conference, everybody's doing something different. This is not like the NBA where they have one protocol and everybody's following it. Everybody is doing their own thing. So what happens is, let's say let's say if you're the SEC and you're playing a team in the Sun Belt and their protocol is completely different than what you're doing. Are you comfortable playing that game? Are you comfortable having your students play that if you're not on the same page? Like, for example, is that school going to give us the information on positive tests? Are they testing? Are they not? So to your point, I actually think there is some health is part of the story in that some conferences may not feel comfortable playing other teams from other conferences that have a completely different protocol. If one conference is testing often and the other one is not, they might say, you know what, I'd rather play someone that is doing the exact same thing that we're doing So that could keep us safe. Yeah, I absolutely think that is a strong possibility that could happen because everybody's kind of doing their own thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. That's going to be something that we got to follow. One other thing. Now, there is some good news that we wanted to hit on.
Thank
yes,
God.
Believe it or not. We're going to have, assuming all goes well, we're going to have a couple more sports. Murph, I know you're super excited that baseball is going to be coming back, as I am too. 60-game season starting in a little bit more than a month. Hopefully we're able to get it.
Is Murph, I mean, this could be a new segment. Optimistic Murph, cynical Murph. Murph, are you optimistic of Major League Baseball getting the 60 games in? Or are you cynical? It's kind of to go back to our earlier interview when we talked to Ben Lively and how they've been playing and how they've handled things. Are you optimistic or pessimistic, Murph, on Major League Baseball right now?
I don't know. I don't know what I feel.
I think you're cautiously optimistic. Possibly.
I am cautious. Oh no, I am just cautious. Okay. I am fully cautious. I am riding the fence as firm as possible to where it hurts my nether region. I am riding that fence, and so I just it's the sport I love, and it's supposed to come back. But God Almighty, was that ugly? And is this gonna even work? They're gonna travel. They're not in a bubble. Yeah, I don't know. I have no emotional attachment to this right now, which is really weird for me to say something like that about baseball. But I mean, it's better than nothing.
Baseball is the only sport that literally hates itself.
It's a house divided. But
what about this, Murph? Think about this vision. You get up at 5 a.m. You're watching Ben Lively and Samsung playing in the KBO, and it gets you right into that 105 first pitch, Garrett Cole and the Yankees. Huh? And then you go all the way to 8 o'clock at night.
And it could, you know what? It could be great. And I will sort of assess my feelings and emotions when I come to that point. I cannot predict what I'm going to feel or if I'm going to feel anything. I might just be dead inside.
Well,
what's the over under on Carlos Stanton going down with an injury? 5 games?
Oh, come on, man!
Stop it! All right. Well, they're back. Let's pull this back to the UCF side of things. In addition to Major League Baseball and the NBA, it looks like we're going to have the basketball tournament. Kicks off on the 4th of July. Story from our friend Jeremy Brenner here on Black and Gold Banneret. 2 UCF Knights will be playing in TBT. Chad Brown and AJ Davis will be playing for a team called Playing for Jimmy V. The games will be broadcast on ESPN's family of networks. They will be it'll be a field of 24 teams in Columbus, Ohio, and the tournament goes from July 4th through the 14th. There were some moves earlier this year to get an Orlando-based team with potentially a couple of former UCF players. I think AJ Davis was on that team, or was initially committed to be on that team, as well as I forget one other player too. I forget if from before, but anyway, a couple guys that are going to be on this team that AJ and Chad will be on. Josh Perkins, who played point guard at Gonzaga. Marcus Towns, who was a hero of Loyola Chicago's run to the Final Four in 2017. They'll be playing their first game on Sunday, July 5th. This is an interesting little tidbit. Their first game will be Sunday, July 5th against a team of alumni from Marshall. So talking about throwing it back a little bit. But we're going to get to see AJ and Chad, which is a good thing. Obviously, Chad was in the not the D League. The D League, but they call it the G League.
G League.
This past year with the Texas Legends, and him getting some run in the summer is a good thing. Although I imagine that probably, I don't know what that does for his status with the Mavericks franchise. But at least this is good. What are we looking forward to from this? Brian, I'll start with you.
Sports, live sports that Americans care about in mass. And sorry, but golf and EPL and NASCAR are not in the realm of something that looks like basketball. So I think that's gonna be fun. I think what's gonna be fun is we got a bracket. The other thing we didn't get to do this March, a bracket. So and it's a 24 team single elimination tournament taking place in Ohio, and they're in a bubble. And it's all played out over 10 days. And you'll have teams seed. I'm not sure how the seeds work, but apparently the top 8 seeds get a bye, and then teams like 8 through 24 play each other to advance. And then we go from there. I think it's gonna be fun. I mean, look, it's gonna be nice for us to see some of our former or some of our alums, but it'll look like basketball, and it'll happen here in just about 10 days.
Yeah, the prize at the end of this is a gigantic $1 million plus pot that would be divided amongst the players and staff with the teams. It does kind of harken back to, like, I hope that when everything clears up that we do get an Orlando team, and we get hopefully a team of a lot of players of UCF Knights, former Knights would be a lot of fun to watch. By the way, who would you like to see? Just real quick, each of you, give me 5 guys you want to see. If there was an all UCF alumni basketball tournament team, who would you want to see on it?
Like, how far back do we want to go?
Are we going all time?
Could reasonably play right now?
Oh,
let's see.
Well, I definitely want to see MOD. I want MOD. I mean,
right.
I just want the competitiveness. I know he could still shoot from the perimeter. So okay, I want MOD.
Okay, let's put O'Donnell out there. All right. Who else?
Dexter Lyons is probably 37 years old. I mean, he could probably strap it up.
Well, him and Josh Peppers have been playing in the Japanese league. So
yeah.
He can still go. Yeah.
I would love to see that.
Jermaine? Can we get a healthy Jermaine?
Let's get healthy Jermaine out there.
Now, we're not counting like B.J. Taylor and those guys because they're under contract.
Unless they're not, we could put B.J. B.J. could be a possibility.
I mean, Taco could be available in about a month.
That was the other player I was thinking about earlier. I'm sorry. Matt Williams was actually announced to be part of the Orlando team, and he's not part of it now, at least as far as we know. But I'd like to see Matt Williams out there.
And then, so we can't choose Taco.
No, we can't choose Taco.
I mean, come on now.
Chad.
So what, I'm just going by, I'm looking at, a lineup here. So what, is, Keith Clanton?
Yeah, now we're talking.
Yeah.
Let's get Clanton out there.
Keith Clanton inside.
We can't do anything without our friend of the show, Tristan Spurlock.
Oh yeah, Tristan for being heck yeah.
Yeah, we're going past 5.
All right.
We got a
big time sponsors. Let's get Scott Rosen on this.
Yeah, let's not burn all. This could be content we might need in the fall. So
yeah, I know.
But no, that'll be fun. I believe ESPN's carrying most of that tournament, aren't they?
They are.
Yeah, so that'll be fun to kind of follow, and like Murph said, just have sports on TV, and those guys will play. That's been fun. I've watched some of that in the past, so hopefully
they're the ones
safe
that came up with the Elam ending that we saw in the NBA All-Star game this past year.
Well, despite that, I'll still watch the tournament, but nonetheless, it's fine.
I like the ending. I thought that was I thought that was a good little wrinkle. Yeah, why not?
Yeah, whatever. The NBA All-Star game is a train wreck, so it doesn't matter anymore. So
that got pretty competitive there toward the end, a little bit more competitive than we're used to seeing toward the end, right? So,
Murph, we're gonna miss the baseball All-Star game. This was the only All-Star game left we had.
Nobody cares.
Well, nobody cares in that it's an All-Star game, but it was certainly the best All-Star game of the All-Star games.
Yeah. Which is not saying much.
Sure, but I'm saying in the pantheon of All-Star games that are actually competitive throughout, baseball was really the only one.
Yeah, well.
So you missed that. But look.
I missed it. Okay.
Look.
But wait, now, Murph, you mentioned the brackets.
Yeah.
We did get news from the league. So the American Conference Women's Basketball Tournament will be taking place in Fort Worth.
That's right, and it will be.
Look at the segue.
Yes.
Thank you.
Now here's another thing that I think is good about this. The men's and women's tournaments are taking place at Dickies Arena, or are scheduled to, in 2021. Obviously, remember
a building that I have stepped foot in and then stepped foot out of.
Yes, you were there. You were there for the 2020 American tournament Brian. You were there for the entire length of it.
Maybe.
Now, they're not doing it the way Conference USA is doing it. The women's tournament is going to take place over 4 days. The men's tournament starts the same day as the women's final and then picks up from there. So they're not running concurrent like they do for Conference USA, where they have 2 courts going at the same time at the Star in Frisco. But I think this is good. I always thought that they should have had the tournaments in the same place. It's going to cut down on travel costs. It's going to it would have been nice if it was in Orlando, but I get why it's in Fort Worth, because they moved the conference office to North Texas.
And they have a deal with that arena.
And they have a deal with that arena.
Yeah, so, I mean, they've got a good deal there, and I'm sure that the women's tournament is a throw-in. Now, a couple of things of this, though. The format, they're going 11 teams. I think it's men and women the same, 11-team field. Mm-hmm. So everybody still gets to participate in the conference tournament. So, because I was kind of wondering what they would do with that, but it's going to be an 11-team field. You can kind of figure out the bracket from there. But I do like the fact that the women's championship game would be on the day of the first day of the men's, because I actually think they'll get more coverage. For example, people like Brian, for example, who would fly in, and I'm talking in the normal circumstances, would fly into Fort Worth to cover the men's tournament. Well, with Coach Abe and the way they're playing, odds are Murph can get there a day or two before the men's tournament starts and catch the women play in the championship game or in the semis. And now you're getting double dip.
Here's what you're going to – Oh, sorry, Eric. I just want to say, here's how it's going to go. The first round is 3 games, 9 versus 8, 10 versus 7, 11 versus 6. And then you have and then it just goes from there. But the women's tournament would go this coming year, assuming everything goes as planned. The women's tournament would go March 8th through 11th. Men's tournament March 11th through the 14th. And this would be a fun day of basketball. You guys ready? March the 11th, you'd have 3 men's games, the 3 first-round games, 9-8, 10-7, and 11-6 to start the men's tournament. And the nightcap is the women's championship.
Oh, that's got Brian Murphy written all over it, Murph. That's got you written all over that. Come on. That's good stuff.
When I saw this announcement on Tuesday, my thought, certainly I thought, well, it's good to putting them together. It cuts down on the different site travel. And just, that's fine. Put it both together. My first real thought was wow, I've gone from now spending 3 days in Fort Worth to spending 6 days.
A whole week in Fort Worth.
Or you could join the Women's in Progress. I don't know if you have to be there for the opening round.
But
what if UCF gets a bye? You don't have to show up till the next day.
Exactly. Root for Coach A, finishing the top seeds. How many teams get the bye there, Jeffrey? You got the
3.
5 really. So 5 really get the bye, because with 11 teams, the 4-5 game is set in the quarterfinals already. You have the bottom 6 teams play each other, and those 3 winners play the top 3 seeds. But the 4-5 game's already set for day 2.
Right.
Yeah. See, so you root for Coach Abe, get a top 3 seed, Murph. You don't have to show up till the day of the semis.
Maybe so, but I don't know. I was only there for 20 hours, but I didn't hate. I liked my time in Fort Worth. It was not that bad.
Well, as I was talking to some people, Fort Worth a little better than Hartford, Connecticut in March.
It's better than a casino? What are you talking about?
You can get casinos wherever you can. You don't need to go to Hartford to find a casino, right? Or do those kind of entertainment.
Dickies Arena, by the way, seats 14,000.
How did it look, Murph? Since in your brief appearance cameo in there, how did it look?
It looked fine. It looked like just an aircraft hangar with some seats in it, and it really did. You know what it looked like? It kind of. Not from the outside. The outside's really nice. The inside was sort of barren and cold. And the court surroundings were okay, it's just a bunch of metal with seating below it. It looks fine. It sort of looked like the new Texas Rangers ballpark, which definitely looks like a warehouse. And this kind of looks like a warehouse on the inside. But look, I don't care. I want to watch basketball and eat some free food, and then watch more basketball, and then eat more free food, and then watch more basketball.
Well, that's the other.
And then,
benefit of the
right.
women's tournament, more free food. I mean, that's the beauty.
I mean, really.
That's not bad.
Got it.
So. I know, right? All right. What else we got? Anything? I think that pretty much covers
Well,
it.
real quick, by the way, real quick here. What's your thoughts here, Jeffrey, on this? Okay. No UConn. How do you think that affects the TV coverage of that tournament, like that championship game? The good news are, it sounds like it'll be at night. Will it still be on an ESPN2 like it has been? Or are they going to move it down to like ESPNU? I'm kind of curious about that with no UConn impact on that.
I think they're going to put it on ESPNU. It's going to shuffle down. Now, I think the other part of that is we don't know what we don't know, right? We don't know if some team is going to have a remarkable season and roll through the conference, maybe and possibly be ranked in the top 10. Is it likely? I don't know how likely it is. I'm not saying that USF or UCF or Cincinnati is going to suddenly turn into UConn at all. Not at all. But if the game has, I think it's going to depend on if there's going to be some national implications, which it's not outside the realm of possibility. Magical seasons have happened before. If that is, then I could see the championship game on ESPN2. But if it's pretty much the same except minus UConn, yeah, I could probably see it being shuffled down to ESPNU, unfortunately. But that's kind of where we're at. Of course, that assumes UConn still has any sports left after the announcement they made earlier today. So
I need Jeffrey to take on this. Go ahead, Jeff. Come on.
No.
What do you want to say?
I think they lost 4 sports today. UConn did. I think that's pretty much all that needs to be said.
Well, let the audience know, for those that may not be aware, what happened.
So,
they may not be aware.
UConn today at a Board of Trustees meeting announced that they were cutting 4 sports. And I'm trying to pull up the sport.
Unfortunately, one of them was not football. That's a spoiler. It was not football. They are still somehow, for whatever the reason, going to hold on to football, right? And they even came out with a statement of why they're keeping football, didn't they, boys?
Yeah, they which the statement that they came out with, obviously some PR. There were some things that rung true to that, but the teams that they're ditching are, or at least they're proposing eliminating, are men's cross country, men's swimming and diving, men's tennis, and women's rowing. Like you guys, I am partial to these sports because they provide the true student-athlete experience to these students who, worked hard at their craft. They only get a partial scholarship out of this. Most of them don't get full scholarships at all. They get partial scholarships, and so they still pay part of their way, and they still commit to the incredible intensity that they have to commit themselves to be a college athlete. And to see this rug ripped out from underneath them when UConn continues to struggle in football, not invest in that program that could have been good, that could have been good if they gave it a chance, is embarrassing. They run a deficit. This according to Pat Forty, who's written about this extensively. They ran a deficit of $40 million last year. UConn's athletic department did. The athletic department they've been blowing through money for years. It's just, and if you watch I was trying to send around the link to you guys earlier. The Board of Trustees meeting, like the people who are even running this aren't even competent to run a proper video call. It's just an absolute embarrassment, and there's no other way to put forth. There's no other way to say it. Randy Edsel's contract is laden with bonuses that you just can't believe. All because UConn doesn't know what it wants to be. And they leave for the Big East, and you know what? Fine. But football drops down to an independent. Is it really? Is that more of a money-making prospect for them? I mean, it may be in the long run, but right now it's not looking so good. They're dropping 4 sports. And those sports are the ones that are going to, and those athletes are the ones that lose. It's the kids who did everything right who lose, and that's what sucks about it. That's what sucks about it. So,
well said.
All right, that's the end of my rant. So,
I have one other thing that I'll just point out.
okay.
Since we talked about baseball earlier, we have even earlier baseball that's happening in the Central Florida area as soon as next week. It's summer ball, and by God, for some reason it's here. And I want to bring this up for a couple reasons. One, so UCF baseball players will be playing, as we heard from Coach Lovelady a few weeks ago, they'll be playing in mostly 3 leagues. One's the Florida Collegiate Summer League, which is where most of the players are playing.
Mm-hmm.
That's in Deltona and Leesburg and Sanford. They're
Winter
playing.
Park. Do they have a team in Winter Park too?
Yes, they do, and they have an Orlando team, and they have they have a lot of Central Florida teams, and so they're playing. They're playing one of the sites where they're playing at is Conrad Park, Melching. They're playing in Melching Field.
Mm-hmm.
So that's starting next week, and so a lot of the summer leagues have been canceled or postponed. But as far as we know, the Florida Summer League is actually happening starting on the 29th. I want to bring this up, and Eric, maybe you want to join me as I read off the stipulations to this tournament. They're allowing fans. They're allowing up to 50% capacity for this tournament at every complex. And basically they were giving out temperature checks, and hand sanitizer, and masks as written in the print. Masks are strongly encouraged.
What the hell?
This is gonna be weird. This is gonna be weird. Do I go just to see what that feels like?
Nah, Murph, I could tell you, Murph, I will share this with you. I actually called games for the Summer League back in 2013.
Yes.
For the then Florida Monarchs, who played their home games at Tinker Field. So I actually could say I was the last person to broadcast from Tinker Field. A lot of rainouts, but nonetheless, and among the players that I covered was Eric Skoglund, which was his summer before his big year of 2014 when he won the American Conference Pitcher of the Year. So this league's been good in helping guys get better and improve their sport and stuff like that. There's usually not big crowds for those. I'm just gonna say that.
But that was my thought too. 50%, it could be that's fine. I can't imagine these things are half full.
Nah, yeah, that's a safe assumption. Now, I'm not saying I recommend going, but I'm the wrong guy to ask. I haven't,
That's why I wanted to ask you.
I live in a bubble. I've been living in a bubble since March. So I'm probably the wrong guy to ask. But now we got UCF. The reason you bring all this up is because we have UCF players in it.
Lots of them, and I'm trying to work out to get a full list of where every player is. Like I said, they're spread around 3 different leagues right now. There's the Coastal Plain League, which I believe is in the Carolinas, and the Northwoods League. And so I'm trying to find out exactly who is where. Then I will.
I will also warn you, Murph. Some of those parks, because I've been to most of those, not the most. How should I say this? The most friendliest as far as in a company. Thank you. Yes, you said it.
Yeah,
yes.
I would know because I was covering an NCAA tournament game at Melching Field a couple years ago, and I got stuck in the elevator.
Yeah,
I missed the press
I'm
conference.
sorry, Murph. I don't mean to be laughing at your misfortune, but
I got stuck in. It was hot in there. Anyway, if you want to watch some summer college baseball, go up to DeLand or Leesburg or Sanford and buy a really cheap ticket. And I know it's a strongly encouraged, but just wear a mask. It ain't that hard.
Yes, please wear a freaking mask.
Areas, not the most media area. I remember for the championship, the broadcasters for the 2 teams of the summer league that broadcasted literally did it next to the dugouts at Tropicana Field.
Yeah,
because we have no access to the press box. So which for me, I didn't care. I was in the stands, but for the broadcasters, that was an interesting setup to do it. But so yeah, that's my only warning to you, Murph. Yeah, put it to this way: you'll probably appreciate the John Giuliano Park setup more and more. I'll just say leave it.
I mean, if I go to any of these places, I would go to Melching Field since I know what that's like, and I've been there a lot. But I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'll go. I mean, look, literally this is starting on Monday, and it runs through August. And baseball, MLB baseball, still has a month to go, and we've got breakouts
my
over the place.
counter to you on this, my counter is get your rest now, because once Major League Baseball comes back, and then you got the KBO, it's wall-to-wall baseball action. You're not going to be able to sleep. You're going to be up at 5 in the morning. You're going to be going from 7 o'clock night games all the way to 5 a.m. Remember, you got the West Coast games at 10. I mean, you're not going to know what hour you're in.
You know what, though? The counter to that is, personally, for this is just me personally, I actually won't be able to watch a whole lot of baseball in July because I'm actually going to cover the Orlando Storm of the World Team Tennis.
All right. Now we're talking.
So and they're playing in West Virginia, and so because those matches are going on all day, that's in July, like July 12th through August 2nd. So at least for the first 10 days of the MLB season, I will really be focusing on tennis. That's where my mind will be.
Wait, so you're going up to West Virginia to cover that?
No. I'm riding from afar.
I see. Okay. They will be in West Virginia. You will not.
I will not be at the Greenbrier. It looks like a lovely campus. I will not be there, but I will be riding.
They wouldn't have that at the USTA tennis complex, huh? That's a bummer.
I know. Well, it would have been nice, but apparently Florida's not a great place to congregate right now.
Yeah, fair point. Yeah. All right. Well, I know that things are. Let's go ahead and wrap this thing up because I know things are kind of getting crazy, but we do encourage you and everyone else, for the protection of everyone else around you. Take one for the team. Wear a freaking mask, people. Come on, football season's at stake. Not to mention, lives and stuff.
We want sports in the fall, you people. We
all want to be alive and healthy and have sports in the fall. It's a little thing that you can do. Is it an inconvenience? Yes, it is. In the grand scheme of things, it's not a big deal. Just do it. All right.
It's not that much of an inconvenience.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless you have asthma. Unless you have asthma, I get it. But otherwise, it's not that hard of it's not an inconvenience. Like your face is sweaty. Ooh.
Yeah. I mean, try having a beard. Like my face is sweaty all the time.
And if you go to our site right now, there's a cool spot where you can get masks if you need one.
Exactly. If you want one, we have one up there. Obviously, there's ethical things up there. But hey, look, we got a link up there. If you want to get a UCF mask, it's up there on blackandgoldbanneret.com. Don't forget to follow us at UCF_Banneret on Twitter, Facebook.com/Black and Gold Banneret. Follow us each individually. Jeff_Sharon, Eric Lopez Elo, Spokes_Murphy. Thanks again to all of our staff. Thanks again to you for listening. And don't forget, this week, people, send us the questions. UCF_Banneret on Twitter. Once again,
we'll ask optimistic Brian or pessimistic Brian these questions. It'll be great.
Yes. Stop. No, we're not. Well, we're not allowing pessimistic Eric because I swear to God, we're going to straitjacket you. It's going to be.
We have to get to that, Eric. Pessimistic Eric is nihilism, Eric. That's really what that is.
It's nihilist Eric. Yes, we're going to have the bobblehead dolls by next week. All right. Thanks again for listening. For Eric and Brian, I'm Jeff. Stay safe out there. This is the Black and Gold Banneret Podcast.